Are we ready? Elsa?
We're going live in a few seconds right now.
Okay, give me the cue so I know when to start.
Yes.
Ready?
Okay.
Elsa?
We're going live in a few seconds right now.
Okay, give me the cue so I know when to start.
Yes. We are now live.
Hello, I'm Lindbergh McPherson, Chairperson of the Tustin Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Center. Welcome to the first of two Tustin City Council candidates forum. Tonight, we have 9 candidates vying for 3 Tustin City Council seats. Tonight's debate will focus on economical development. Each candidate will have an opportunity to introduce their platform to you, the voters. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer questions that were submitted by the general public via our website. The order of introduction and the questions have already been predetermined by the candidates by a number draw system. Each candidate will be given a 2.5-minute time to introduce their platform to you, and then 1 minute for questions that will 1-minute time slot for a closing remark. Now let me introduce our moderator. Melody Mosley is a longtime resident of Santa Ana. She's a practicing attorney and is very active with Family Promise, a local charity that provides food, shelter, and assistance to the homeless throughout Orange County. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our moderator for the second time, Melody Mosley. Melody, you're on.
Good evening, everyone. It's my honor to introduce all of the candidates, and the first one is Kristen Kuzak. Chris Kuzak is a businessman here in the city of Tustin. 6 years ago, he moved to Orange County and fell in love with the small town of Tustin. At his first chamber meeting, the mayor of Tustin, Chuck Puckett, introduced himself to Chris. That moment solidified for Chris that Tustin was a special place. Not long after, Chris was the vice chair of the Tustin Chamber of Commerce and took it upon himself to be deeply involved in the city. Chris has held positions on the board of the Tustin Chamber of Commerce and is a member of the Tustin Veterans Advisory Committee. He has commanded the Santa Ana American Legion, been an advisory council member for the Tustin Community Foundation, and he is a current member of the Tustin Police Department Chiefs Advisory Board. He has also worked on the Tustin Tiller Days Committee. Chris is an avid volunteer and is seldom not participating in an event in Tustin. Chris is currently getting his master's from the University of Alabama. In his off time, Chris is an avid baseball fan and can be found at a game. Chris is running to make sure our community remains as amazing as it currently is. Notable platforms for Chris are the safety and security of the residents and their property, making sure our economic development makes our city even better, and bringing the community together to make every Tustin resident feel like a true Tustinite. Chris is excited to be here and happy to answer any of your questions and says to just reach out to him anytime.
Thank you, Melody. My name is Chris Kuzak. I'm running for City Council. I like she said, I am super happy to be here in Tustin. I came here 6 years ago and met a couple of the people at the chamber and was introduced to the mayor. And I thought that was very cool that the mayor took time to meet me, because who am I? So, it was one of those things that I just really enjoyed, being there. I enjoy being in the, Tustin events that we do. It's a small community and we have so many great people here. I do like to volunteer my time as much as possible. It's one of the things that I think, this is just kind of a natural progression for me, is to help help out on the city council, making sure that everyone here in Tustin is represented. I'd like to hear everyone's opinions and comments and things that going forward, that, you know, if you have anything, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. I constantly am being asked all sorts of things for other charities, and I have no problem, you know, putting something down to see if I can't help out. So I know that I'm only a minute and some change in, but I don't really have anything else to say. I look forward to talking to everyone tonight.
Thank you, Chris. Our next candidate will be Lee Fink.
Okay. Lee Fink grew up in Tustin, the youngest of 6 children. When his parents divorced, he split time between his parents' homes, one near Loma Vista and one down the street from St. Cecilia's Church. Lee was on the student council at Hughes and started the Tustin Tiller Days Parade as the drum major of the Foothill Band. A Tustin Foundation launched his career. Lee attended UC Berkeley and NYU Law School before coming home to Tustin. He spent a year as a law clerk to a federal judge before going into private practice. In private practice, he spent several years representing some of the biggest companies in America, Sony, Disney, and KPMG in bet the company litigation. He then went to the nation's capital to serve in the federal government. In Washington, Lee was a senior official at NASA, where he led to pass NASA's commercial space program, which resulted in the recent launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. He was later the second-ranking lawyer in the U.S. Department of Agriculture. At the USDA, he led efforts to allow faith-based organizations to participate in food assistance programs. He helped protect food stamps against fraud, and he expanded access to this program that helps feed 250,000 Orange County families and kids. When he returned home to Tustin, Lee spent more than a year as the Deputy Director Counsel at OSERS, protecting the public pension investments of Orange County sheriffs, firefighters, and public servants. Lee returned to private practice, helping to run a growing firm and representing small businesses and consumers. He serves as the co-chair of the Orange County Bar Pro Bono Committee, and his other volunteer activities have included planning food drives and beach cleanups, serving on local budget and finance and planning commissions, and serving as a judge pro tem for the OC Superior Court. Lee lives in Old Town Tustin and opened up his historic home to the 2019 Old Town Home Tour.
Thank you. After that, it's almost hard to go into my introduction, and I appreciate that. But I am Lee Fink, and I'm running for City Council. I know that tonight's forum is focused on the economy, so I want to address that. And I think I'm an example of a local kid that made good. As you just heard, I grew up here in Tustin, went to Tustin Public Schools, and because of that start, I was able to go to college and law school, work in the biggest and oldest firm in Southern California, represent Fortune 500 companies, a bunch of the big Hollywood studios, 2 of the big 4 accounting firms, some of the large package and handling companies in our country. I was able to work in the federal government, where you heard a little bit about that, where we focused when I was at NASA in trying to get it so that commercial companies could send astronauts in space. And that resulted finally in the successful launch of the Dragon capsule and recovery recently. And now I mostly represent small businesses and consumers here in Orange County. So let me address how to get our economy going. And the first thing we have to do is make sure that we've got our public health system working. We cannot work in Tustin or live or shop in Tustin until we address the public health crisis. And we spend a lot of time worried about how do we get to the next tier? When are we going to be on the next tier? What we need to worry about is making sure we're taking the public health steps necessary to get there. Mask requirements like they've had in Costa Mesa, test opportunities like they've had in Irvine. We've been behind on getting those here in Tustin, and we need to lead the way. We need to take those public health precautions, and that's why I've been endorsed by the grocery store workers and by Tustin's firefighters, because of my commitment to public health. To get our economy going, I've got the experience to do that. I've worked with big companies and small businesses. I know that Tustin has a bad reputation. A lot of times people think that you can't work in Tustin. And we haven't had the type of development, and you see too many places where there are empty storefronts and empty lots. The old Vons on 17th Street and on Barwin Square. The closed, it was a Marshall's growing up behind Cream Pan Bakery. There's too much of that. So it's not just since the pandemic that we've been behind. We need to address that and move that ahead. I've got the experience to do that, and I've worked with small businesses. I've worked
20
in
seconds.
places that can expand. And finally, we need to make sure our families and kids have safe places to go and expand our after school and day and childcare programs at places like Heidemann and Beswick and Curry Thorman, now Sycamore Baghdad Academy, so that we have places for kids to go so their parents.
Okay, our next candidate will be AJ Jaw.
Okay. AJ's involvement with Tustin has been as a resident and business owner. AJ is a successful business owner and proud resident in Tustin since 2010. Locally, he has been involved with the community and with many nonprofits. Currently, AJ serves as a planning commissioner for the city of Tustin. AJ also served on the board of the Tustin Chamber of Commerce and serves currently on the board of the Boys and Girls Club of Tustin and as a committee member of the Tustin Community Foundation. Prior to the Planning Commission, AJ spent 2 years on the Tustin Police Department's Chiefs Advisory Board. He has always believed in community first.
Good evening, everyone at home. My name is AJ Jha, and I hope to be your choice for Tustin. I arrived in Tustin in 2010 as a young business owner. It was a tough road and turning a struggling business around. I invested my life savings and was thrust into an unfamiliar situation where I had to roll up my sleeves and get to work. I made mistakes and learned some things the hard way, but I quickly learned and I quickly adapted, and I gained experience of familiarity with being a business owner. As my business improved, I started getting involved with the community that I grew fond of. I first started off joining the Chamber of Commerce, and then I was selected to the Chiefs Advisory Board. And as my time continued, I was becoming a part of the fabric of the community. And this led me to becoming on the Planning Commission, which helped. 2020 has been a challenging year for our nation and our community. COVID-19 will have lasting implications on how we live. Economic revitalization is going to be a critical component of the recovery of Tustin from COVID. We are amidst this pandemic, and the effects have not been fully realized in our community. The focus is to get the economy back on track by quickly adapting and not reacting. As your council member, I will hit the ground running, addressing the issues in our community that include public safety, economic recovery, and financial sustainability. Using my experience as a Tustin business owner, I plan to lead the recovery effort for small businesses and local economy by cutting the red tape, streamlining processes, and finding innovative ways to stimulate our economy and not just talk about it. As your council member, I'll be physically conservative, treating your tax dollars as I treat my own finances. No new taxes, no fees, no wasteful spending, and plan to increase our reserve to plan for our future correctly. I will hold regular office hours. I want to create an open door policy with residents, and I'll continue to fight for transparency and accountability within our government. And your safety is a top priority for me. With your support, I will fight with all the necessary tools I can and give the resources our police department needs to do their job the best. I will not overlook the importance of quality of life.
20 seconds.
While presenting solutions to these significant issues, I will ensure Tustin residents experience the quality of life they deserve. My name is AJ Jha. I'm a Tustin resident, business owner, planning commissioner, and a community leader. I'm last on ballot and first for Tustin. I humbly ask for your vote. Thanks.
Okay, our next candidate is Becky Gomez.
Okay. Becky Gomez is a former member of the Tustin City Council and Mayor Pro Tem, having been elected in 2010 and re-elected in 2014. She has held leadership positions with the Orange County Senior Citizens Advisory Council, the Santa Ana River Flood Protection Agency, the Orange County Library Advisory Board, the Tustin Area Senior Center Fund, and the Orange County Waste Management Commission in 2012 to 2013. Becky was elected to the Orange County Board of Education in 2016 and re-elected in March 2020. She serves as the liaison to the Orange County School Board Association and the California School Board Association. Becky has been actively involved in a number of professional and community organizations. She is a two-time past president of the Greater Orange County Health Information Association and has served as president of the Tustin Public Schools Foundation, Tustin South Bobby Sox, the Tustin High School Academic Boosters, the Tustin Unified School District Coordinating Council, the Thorman Elementary School PTO, and the Curry Middle School PTA. She has been on the board of directors for Tustin Girls Softball, Nelson PTA, Tustin Meadows Tiny Tots, the Orange County Women's Soccer League, and she was a longtime youth coach with Tustin South Bobby Sox, Tustin Girls Softball, AYSO, and NJB. During her career, she has held various management and consulting positions in hospitals, ambulatory clinics, and a national home health agency. She is a past recipient of the William J. Olston Award for Excellence in Records Management and the Core Values winner for Commitment to Our Shareholders from Tokos Medical Corporation. Becky is the Dean for the Health Science Division at Cypress College, having previously served as the college's Director of Health Information Technology and Professional Development Coordinator. Along with a bachelor's degree from UCLA School of Public Health, Becky has a master's degree in healthcare administration from California State University, Long Beach, and a master's degree in sports management from the University of San Francisco. She and her husband, John McKeon, have resided in Tustin since 1988. Their two sons are graduates of Cal State University Fullerton and Sonoma State University, and their daughter completed her undergraduate and law degrees at Stanford University.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. I'm Becky Gomez. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting all of us this evening and giving us all an opportunity to speak to the public. I grew up in a working class family in Whittier, California, and attended public school there. I've lived and worked all over California, but my husband and I chose Tustin as a place to raise our three children and where we have lived since 1998. Having lived and worked all over California gives you a unique perspective on what works and what doesn't in various communities. Because we found Tustin, we actually stumbled into Tustin. We lived in Irvine when we returned from Northern California. But Tustin has become our hometown, and we all consider that as a wonderful place to live, work, and shop. My bio indicated that I'm a longtime youth coach, and I've loved every minute of it. So when people ask me how many children do I have, I usually respond, oh, a few hundred, because each of those kids that I've coached, I do consider my children because I've helped raise them along with their parents. I've headed up nonprofit boards for the benefit of our community and our children. And by the way, many of my good friends today are people that I met while volunteering, which is another benefit of volunteer work. I've been a longtime volunteer and leader in my profession, as well as a two-time president of the Orange County Health Information Association. I received numerous company and leadership awards for my innovative projects. And with our health records, we were a model for many healthcare organizations many, many years ago. In my professional role as the Dean of Health Science, I oversee 8 healthcare programs. On a daily basis, I work with faculty to ensure our students get a great education. I get to experience firsthand how obtaining a license and a career helps to transform students' lives, making them great people for the public and also to boost our economy. Seeing them graduate is a highlight of the year.
20 seconds.
I've served 2 terms on the city council. I don't have to talk about what I will do. I've already done it. I know how to work with people and how to get things done. So we need to make sure that we take proper safety measures in order to get our economy back up and running and get our businesses back on their feet.
Next candidate is Ryan Gallagher.
Okay. Ryan Gallagher is a proud Tustin resident who lives with his wife Morgan and 2 sons coal, and clay within the Columbus Square development of the Tustin legacy. Ryan is a passionate advocate for smart growth and a current Tustin Planning Commissioner. His track record as a Tustin Planning Commissioner includes voting for key local projects such as the Schools First Credit Union headquarters near the 55 in Eddinger and the renovation of the Trinity Broadcasting Network, which both provide a much-needed boost to our local economy. Ryan is a business owner and registered civil engineer. His career of nearly 2 decades includes previous roles as vice president of a nationwide engineering firm and associate vice president for a Fortune 500 global engineering firm. His entire career has been focused on assisting public agencies like Tustin to plan, design, fund, and deliver critical infrastructure projects. In 2019, his work in this area earned him the designation as one of the top 20 engineers in the country under 40 by Engineering News Record. He is honored to have served over 20 public agencies across Southern California. Ryan has extensive board and policy level experience. He is currently the president of the Orange County Water Association and a member of the University of California, Irvine Civil and Environmental Engineering Affiliates. He has also served previously as president of local chapters of Association of Water Agencies, American Public Works Association, and American Society of Civil Engineers.
Thanks, Melody. And thank you to the Tustin Chamber of Commerce for providing this venue tonight. Nothing could be more important than hearing directly from the candidates who are choosing to help and volunteer here. And those of you watching tonight, you should feel proud that so many of your neighbors and residents have stepped up and taken the call and sacrificed their own time and energy to serve you, the residents of Tustin. We should also consider ourselves fortunate that so many of the candidates here tonight are passionate about the future of Tustin. I'm proud to be among them. But for those watching tonight, you must understand that this election has to be more than about just passion and good intention. The future of the city depends on it. When I drive around, I see empty buildings, I see vacant lots, I see areas in need of rehabilitation. When I look at our general fund, I see starting in 2007, our expenses exceeding our revenues, putting us on a path of unsustainability. When I drive around the Tustin legacy, I look at the historic hangars, the rich history that surrounds them. And I see undeveloped areas, 500 plus acres, with no clear vision, plan, or schedule for completing the development. This could be the economic engine that drives the city into the future. It could pay for expanded resources, increases in public safety and infrastructure, and yet we move at a glacial pace, nearly 20 years into the specific plan. No amount of passion or goodwill will solve these problems. And that's why I'm running. The difference between my campaign and those you're going to hear from tonight is that I not only have the passion, but the experience and expertise to solve these problems. I'm a Tustin Planning Commissioner, a business owner, nonprofit president, civil engineer, and I've been working my entire career working for cities just like Tustin to solve their most complex infrastructure issues. This is what we need for our elected officials. People that not only understand the problems, but can bring solutions to the table to solve them. So I'm asking everyone watching tonight to vote for more than passion, vote for more than goodwill. Vote for practical experience, proven leadership, and a clear vision for the future. That's what my candidacy is about. And I will see the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is George Valdez.
Okay. George Valdez is a business owner, a licensed California attorney, a judge pro tem, a charity board president, a Tustin homeowner, and the father of 4. George is running on a campaign that pledges continued public safety on our streets and in our schools, lowering government barriers to development, fostering a more business-friendly environment, and creating the Tustin Cares initiative, which includes a pledge to provide privately funded college scholarships for students coming out of Tustin High School, repurposing city staff members to work with the community to find jobs, and creating a pool of pro bono lawyers willing to help the underserved residents of Tustin. He is currently endorsed by 8 current and prior Tustin mayors and councilmen, including Alan Bernstein, Chuck Puckett, Austin Lombard, Doug Davert, Jerry Amante, Jeff Thomas, John Nielsen, and Al Murray. George's public safety endorsements include the Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes. He has also received financial campaign support for the Tustin Police Officers Association. His business-related endorsements include the Tustin Auto Dealers Association, the Orange County Auto Dealers Association, the Orange County Business Council, and the Lincoln Club of Orange County. His other political endorsements include State Senator John Morlock, State Assemblyman Stephen Choi, the Grow-elect PAC, Todd DeBronstein, President of the Association of California State Supervisors, and Jeff Lewis, Rancho Palos Verdes Planning Commissioner. You need to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Tustin voters. Rather than focus right now on my accomplishments, I really want to spend my 2.5 minutes on what I want to plan to do with the city. First and foremost, I want to maintain public safety. I will not defund the police. I will defend the police. I want to create the Tustin Cares Initiative that involves college scholarships and pro bono attorneys, and reutilizing staff members downtown to help our Tustin residents with finding jobs. So many of us have lost work because of the pandemic. This is a top priority for me. Since tonight's major topic is economic development, my economic plan in detail would be bringing a 21st century biotech city to the legacy. This would bring thousands and thousands of biotech jobs, millions and millions of dollars of gross revenues to the city. I also want to bring a state-of-the-art officer training center to the Tustin legacy. This would put Tustin on the map with respect to officer training, not only for our local Tustin PD, but other police departments, not locally, statewide, and even nationwide. I want to create another dealership at the Tustin Auto Dealers. I've already had those discussions with several of the persons there. There is interest in creating another dealership. The city should know that the Tustin Auto Dealers represent about $6 to $7 million of our general fund revenues. So expanding on that, I think, is important. But most importantly, I would lower the involvement of city staff with respect to our development projects. It is very clear, based on my conversations with developers, that city staff has really been a large barrier to development projects. And as Mr. Gallagher mentioned earlier, we have too much vacant land that's been sitting around way too long. We need a city council member who's going to start taking charge of the development projects. The decisions need to be made top down, not bottom up, and that is my pledge to the city with respect to economic development. Thank you very much. George Valdez for Tustin City Council.
Thank you. Our next candidate is James Perez, and unfortunately he is unable to be with us, but our moderator will read his bio.
James is a real estate broker and business owner in Old Town Tustin. He is currently a member of the Tustin Chamber of Commerce, and he was previously an active board member. James is an ambassador for the Tustin Public School Foundation and a member of the Tustin Area Historical Society. He was named a Tustin superhero by the Tustin Community Foundation in 2017. James has been heavily involved in the community and volunteering at almost every event. Being part of the community events over the past years, he has been able to talk with many residents and business owners, and he understands the community. Being a father and a husband, James knows that the quality of life is extremely important, as well as the safety of the community. He says that for too long, we have had too many vacant lots and buildings, and this is why he wants to bring new businesses into the city while ensuring our current businesses have the ability to thrive. James will listen to the Tustin community, both to residents and businesses, to make sure an open and transparent governance will be provided. James will bring his many years of experience to the job, and he will facilitate a positive change that our city needs. Your voice and your vote count, and James genuinely asks for your support and vote.
Our next candidate is Councilmember Letitia Clark.
Mayor Pro Tem Letitia Clark was overwhelmingly elected to the Tustin City Council in November of 2016 with a platform of fostering economic development, government transparency, supporting local education, and protecting quality of life. In the 4 years since her election, Mayor Pro Tem Clark has been an effective and instrumental in the city's financial stability and growth. She helped to pass a $139 million 7-year capital improvement plan, which has been responsible for creating storm water catch basins to clean up the local water supply, replacing several park playgrounds, the construction of a new state-of-the-art emergency operations center, and the implementation of energy-efficient LED streetlights. She has also been a leading voice for government accountability and transparency through the creation of term limits for city commissioners, passing a balanced city budget each year, and the creation of Girls in Government, a program dedicated to diversifying public service. As an Orange County native and graduate of Tustin High School, graduate of Xavier University with a BA degree in political science, graduate of New England College with a master's degree in public policy, and certificate in nonprofit management from the Harvard University John F. Kennedy School of Government, Mayor Pro Tem Clark has used her education to succeed throughout her professional career. Her first position out of college was with the New Orleans City Council, which led her to be part of the essential recovery team in response to Hurricane Katrina, and propelled her in the realm for leadership at the local level. Letitia currently serves as the District Director of Public Affairs, Marketing, and Government Relations for the South Orange County Community College District. Letitia has also worked as a government relations professional for local and state government, working for both Republicans and Democrats. She has also worked professionally in executive roles in the areas of healthcare, housing, and real estate. Over the years, Letitia has remained active in her Tustin community and has served on the Tustin Community Foundation Board, the Tustin Street Fair Committee, the Tustin Ranch Elementary School Site Council, and the Tustin Unified School District's Superintendent's Council. Letitia has been recognized 4 times as a 40 Under 40 winner and featured for her leadership in the OC Register, the LA Times, Governing Magazine, and by local organizations such as Tustin Dollars for Scholars, the Tustin Boys and Girls Club, and the Raise Foundation, which is the Orange County Child Abuse Prevention Center. Letitia is eager to continue her service on the Tustin City Council. Her priorities are focused on recovering from the economic downturn related to COVID-19, responsible development through job creation, and diverse housing, and addressing equity and inclusion throughout city government.
Thank you, Melody, for the introduction. And again, thank you to the Chamber for hosting this for the benefit of the public to see what all the candidates have to say. Again, my name is Letitia Clark. I've been honored and privileged to serve on the City Council since 2016 and have served as your Mayor Pro Tem this year. I have a lot of accomplishments to be proud of, and there are some great things that the city has done, but I've never seen trying times as we're faced with right now. And in my opinion, we're experiencing a triple crisis right now with the pandemic, the economic downturn, and social unrest. And I've been a leader in all these crises during this time. I've advocated for additional testing and PPE for our first responders here in Tustin. I have worked to create grant programs for our small businesses, 1.5 million in grants for small businesses, with additional grants for restaurants in Old Town and around the city to expand their outdoor eating facilities. Additionally, we created, with my leadership, $250,000 for rental assistance to prevent families who are struggling right now, who have lost their jobs, from losing their homes and being on the streets. So $250,000 in rental assistance during this trying time. I also helped author the only well, I'll say the first proclamation that was passed here in Orange County to address some of the racial inequity that we're seeing across the nation. But we stood against racial injustice, but also stood against protests that weren't peaceful. So standing against looting or rioting and being very strong about that. We were the first city to do that, very strong, and I'm very proud to be able to have led that effort. There's a lot of work to be done, and I'm proud of some of the work that's been done, but this journey is not over. And so I'm asking for the support of our community in re-election. I have been known in the community as someone to bring people together, to be a collaborator, to work across the aisle. And the candidates here, we have a lot of differences in opinion and philosophies, but I am known to be someone to bring us together. And that's what we need right now. We see divisiveness across the nation, and I think my reputation speaks for itself in that I'm going to be someone that brings our community together in a very trying time. And we know that this trying time is not going to be over at the end of the year. This can be ongoing if we don't have the right leadership and the experience at the table. And I'm prepared to lead us to get out of some of these crises and back to what we know and love in Tustin, but moving us forward. And frankly, we're better together. So I thank you for your time and look forward to your vote.
Perfect. And our next candidate is Kurt Bensworth.
Okay. Kurt Bensworth is from Tustin, a graduate from CET and Tustin High School. Earning degrees from both UCLA and Chapman University, Kurt worked in the accounting industry for over 18 years. Kurt has started and co-owned several business ventures. He says that understanding finance, creating operating budgets, evaluating balance sheets, and profit and loss statements is a fundamental strength for any successful businessman. After retiring from what most people call a normal job, Kurt continued working for his own investment company and philanthropic endeavors. At the same time, he began writing. As a published author, he has used Tustin as the backdrop setting in his first novel, which was What Love Looks Like, identifying several local streets, businesses, and buildings. He is now in the process of finishing his third novel. Kurt began his volunteerism in Tustin in 2015, long before any aspirations for public office. Kurt has volunteered in virtually every event in Tustin. He believes that community involvement is the best way to understand the pulse of the public, and it is his way of giving back. Kurt's resume for charitable organizations includes Commander for the Sons of the American Legion, Tustin Post 227, Financial Officer for the American Legion, Treasurer and Docent for the Tustin Area Historical Society, Tustin Host Lions Club, and Elks Lodge 794 member, plus a prior board member for the Tustin Community Foundation. In 2018, Kurt was selected as a superhero and twice nominated for Tustin Area Man of the Year. Kurt's agenda includes fiscal responsibility with approaches to increase revenue without placing the burden on taxpayers, attracting businesses through incentives, and keeping our community safe by supporting the police. Kurt respectfully asks for your vote and says a vote for Kurt is a vote for Tustin.
Thank you very much, Melody. I appreciate it. And thank you for the Tustin Chamber of Commerce for putting this whole event on. I think it's a very good thing that our local society, all our residents are able to see us all. Many of us agree on a lot of points as far as how, for example, Ryan and George, you talked about the more or less the legacy and how that particular plot of land is being used. Just in case, because I want you to realize how important the finances is of our operating budget. In the past 2 years alone, we've operated our budgeted operating budget. We were budgeted for a negative $23,000 million loss. And what the city has done is we sold a piece of land to cover those particular losses. We can't keep continuing with that type of perspective for long-term purposes. Tustin has about $1 billion worth of land, which was given to us. We have to take it and do it the right way. And I don't necessarily believe in selling all the land off. Leasing it may be a better perspective for us. And we also have to consider if the plans for the general and the specific plans for the legacy, if you want to increase the amount of residents, you put in more homes. The only problem with that is the tax revenue basis is not going to be nearly as what we will need in our future. Number two, traffic down in that area will become more and more further of a problem. My perspective is we need to take a specific look at the general and specific plans, rezone it to its proper means, to where we can have a consistent way of financing it for our Tustin and perpetuity. We will be able to handle all of that type of money revenue coming in over the years. We have to do something, because we cannot continually have on a downward trend our operating budget in a negative. And God knows it's even further than that now, because our sales tax in this particular city
20
has
seconds.
gone down. 20 seconds? Okay, I also believe in which is very important, the safety and security of our residents. I wholeheartedly support our police officers and our firemen and our government as a whole. With that, I hope everybody will be able to get an opportunity to check each one of us out on our own website.
Okay, folks, at this time, we'll go to our questions and answer portion of this evening. We have a total of 6 questions that have been submitted by the community via our website. And the order for the questions have already been predetermined by the candidate. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer per question, and the moderator will read the question. We will also acknowledge the individual that submitted the question. And our first candidate would be Becky Gomez. Moderator?
All right. The first question was submitted by Jonathan and Lori Abalov. And here's the question. They say, we moved to Tustin 28 years ago. For 28 years, we have heard about the revitalization of Old Town, and it has not taken place. The pandemic has now led to more empty spaces. What is your plan to revitalize Old Town, and why is it different than any effort in the last 28 years?
Thank you. Well, we certainly have untapped potential in Old Town. Previously, one of the projects that I had championed, but I couldn't get a political will to go along with that, was to have Tustin Thursdays to encourage the community to patronize our restaurants who could provide specials to draw customers. I'd like to see an evening farmers market. I've encouraged our restaurants to provide dinner takeout specials for the Wednesday concerts in the park. Old Town needs to be more walkable. At one point, there was an Old Town Merchants Association, which would be great to revive. So these are some different things we could do. The parking has also been an issue. We need to look at Stephen Square in Old Town to try to ramp up the parking, because we won't be able to park everybody right in front of their restaurants. But again, it provides more walkable space and gets more people on the street to see what the different shops and restaurants are. Thank you.
Thank you. The next candidate will be Lee Fink. Same question.
Here we go. Thank you. Let me just associate myself with a lot of what Becky Gomez just said, because I think that's right. Let me point out a couple of things that are critical. One is parking. There is not enough parking in Old Town. Old Town is the hidden jewel of Orange County. And I don't know if we can be like Orange, but we should have people coming to it. Now, I live in historic residence in Old Town, and I want to see more people coming here. But I know we might not be like Orange, but we can do more in Old Town. A parking structure would help bring people in, redevelopment of some of the centers in Old Town, but we have to talk to the businesses that are there. When the city did a plan for Old Town a couple of years ago, they did a presentation at the church on Main Street, and I asked, hey, have we talked to the business, to the folks? And they hadn't. We need to literally walk up and down El Camino and make sure we're talking to those people. I want to have a business and community ombudsperson who can cut through the red tape, report directly to the city council about the needs of the community and the businesses.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Councilmember Letitia Clark.
Yes, I agree that we need to put businesses first in Old Town. We did pass the downtown commercial core plan in 2018, which just does promote walkability, more cycling in the area so that there's more activity down there. Additionally, with the almost completion of the Vintage in Old Town, we have 140 families that are now in that area that are going to want to frequent that area much more often, but we need businesses that can accommodate them. I love the idea about opening later on Thursdays. I had an idea about food truck Fridays. We do have to get creative during these times. We have some new staff. Staff was mentioned earlier. We'll have a new community development director soon. We have a new economic development director, a new finance director, and that's going to help us participate and partner with them in creating more creativity for Old Town.
Perfect. Our next candidate is Kurt Bensworth. Kurt Bensworth.
Thank you. I walk Old Town every day. As a docent there at the museum, I talk to people every day. I know the vendors there. I know Brad at iInitial. I can go next door and see G at American Grub. And they've expressed to me certain things that they would like to happen in Old Town. I mean, something as little as, for example, out in front of iInitial, we have a planter box where we're putting our signs. We can fill them in that planter box with bricks, and then, for example, put a picnic table there. Number one thing it does is it allows people to have a place to rest. Plus, we're also helping out the restaurant that is located right there. We need to focus
20 seconds.
for Old Town. Did you say that was enough of my time? Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, no, I just said 20 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, our next person is George Valdez.
Yes, about 2 months ago, I spent 8 hours walking all of Old Town, introducing myself to every business owner and general manager. I can tell you that they really think that Old Town needs more people in order to fuel the economy down there. I've personally spoken with a developer who's tried to develop a project right on the Red Hill corridor that would bring several hundred people. He has spent the last 7 years trying to develop this project, which is basically still 3.5 acres of undeveloped land. And he has again complained, to me about the city staff ruling what is going on in the city government. That will end if I am elected.
20 seconds.
There's also a business owner who's complained that he's been unable to put a canopy downtown. We need to take control as a council member of what goes on there. We cannot allow the city staff to rule and manage and decide what is happening, and then the council members.
Okay, our next candidate is AJ Jaw. AJ.
So, Old Town, it's a complicated story. You have landlords, you have people that don't want anything to change in Old Town. You have businesses that are fighting for foot traffic. I think the number one thing to do is address parking. I think we have lots of land. I think the city needs to engage more in Old Town and discuss with these vacant, landowners of temporarily renting their land for parking. I mean, that's an easy, simple solution. If someone's sitting on vacant land that's not really making any money for them, the city can easily go over there and say, hey, we'll give you $2,000 a month. We're going to put parking here temporarily. And I'm sure most landlords would jump at that. I've been working with Tesla and using Stevens Square's parking lot as a supercharging site and, making an introduction with, economic development so we can drive more business. You have somebody waiting 45 minutes to charge their car and now they can go and grab a bite to eat American Grub. There's a lot of different things we need to do. And I think, having live music in the evening time, in the winter time, having snow machines so we.
Okay, our next candidate is Chris Cusack. Chris?
Thank you. So Old Town, I've been thinking about this for a very long time. I think one of the biggest things that we need to do is, yes, we have a parking issue, but those empty lots that are there, I think that we just need to talk to those owners and ask them, what do you want here? What is your goal? How can we help you make this something that will attract people to this area? I think that, we've been working at it for a while, and I'm assuming at some point they'll find something that they like, and at that point we can jump at it. But I think that, you know, once we have more of that filled, we have more opportunity to have more businesses attracting more people. Also, we'll hopefully be able to motivate some of those business owners that have, the lot owners that have some older facilities to update their facilities, something that maybe we can help them with. Again, ask them what they want. What can we do to help change? We want to make sure Old Town is a great place to be.
And our next candidate is Ryan Gallagher.
I think the solution is a two-part process. The first is we need to eliminate some of the obstacles that we, the city, have put in our own way. Letitia mentioned the 2018 specific plan for the commercial core. It was a great concept. And then right after that, we passed the inclusionary housing ordinance, which throws an obstacle in the way of developers who want to invest in Old Town. So first, we need to clear that out of the way. Then we need to make investments. The city needs to make investments. We talked about parking. There's lots of great ideas. Any of the ones that were thrown out just now, but those require money. So we need to develop the legacy, use that money to invest in Old Town and create a recurring revenue for the city. That's what we need. We have plans in place. There's already designs to build cutouts. There's designs to put in architectural features on the entrance. They just need funding. And so if I'm elected, that'll be a priority. And it's clear on my website that it already is.
Perfect. Okay, now we'll go to question number 2. Again, the moderator will read the question. The order, again, have been predetermined by the candidates. And so the first one on the list for answer will be Ryan Gallagher for question number 2.
All right, this second question was submitted by John and Linda Bajoin. And the question is, if there is one specific project that you can start and finish during your term, what would that project be? And how would it be economically beneficial to Tustin and Tustin residents?
Oh, that's easy. Tustin Hangars. What an iconic landmark. And when you look around, there's great examples of public-private partnerships. Look at Moffett Air Force Base that brought in $1 billion. That was a partnership with Google. Look at Liberty Station down in San Diego. Look at the Great Park. All of these public-private partnerships. That's what I would bring, and I've experienced to do so. I delivered a $120 million public-private partnership for a public agency in LA County. And so I can bring the experience to push that forward and make something special for the city of Tustin.
Okay, next is Council Member Letitia Clark.
We have a saying in Tustin that you can work where you must, but live and shop in Tustin. I've always felt like we needed to evolve from that saying, even though a lot of us love it. But I think we need to create jobs. That's what I would work on moving forward. And pandemic-proof jobs, jobs in high tech. We have opportunities for more grocery stores, more healthcare facilities. These have been jobs that have weathered the storm during this pandemic. I think we have an opportunity for more job creation. That's going to help with our economic downturn as well and help our local community and make sure dollars stay in Tustin.
Thank you. The next candidate is Chris Cusack.
Thank you. So, I think the biggest thing for me is making sure that the legacy is developed correctly. I know that I can't finish it, but I know that I can set in foundations that will help it move forward correctly, because I think if we do something wrong and we take it down the wrong path, it'll be very difficult to steer us back to the right direction. So that's going to be a big thing for me, is making sure that land is developed in the proper manner, and it's pretty much all I have.
Next would be Kurt Bensworth.
I'd have to go right along with what Chris was saying. Definitely my number one project would be the legacy. I would like to make sure that we have set aside a certain area of land, about 123 acres. I've already done a lot of investigation on this, to where we can actually rent out the land. We can lease out the land. That's what we're looking for the city of Tustin. We need fiscal viability over a long-term purpose. So that would be my number one. My number two, obviously, would go right along with what Ryan was talking about in dealing with the hangar. These are assets that we have. They need to be properly done. That's it.
Thank you. Now we'll call on Becky Gomez.
Well, I think the hangar would be a great thing to do. But again, the question is within the first term or within your term. So One thing that I would like to do is I would like to entertain a partnership with Irvine to be included in the Irvine shuttle route. I could see this being a transit bus loop through Tustin from the train station, Old Town, the district, the marketplace, and the Civic Center, along with the Irvine train station, and possibly through the Santa Ana streetcar. So those again would provide some opportunities for our residents and reduce traffic. So I think that will also help with the job market as well. Thank you.
Next, we have Lee Fink.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. And I appreciate what Chris Cusack said, which is the hangars have to be the number one priority for economic development, but it is about laying a foundation for that. We won't finish that in the 4 years of our first term. I've got the connections. We've done that with the NASA hangar when I was at NASA up in Northern California. We can do great things in Tustin with the blimp hangars here, but it doesn't even appear in our strategic plan. The word hangar isn't even in that document, so we have to focus on that. What we can and must accomplish during the next 4 years, and really sooner than that, is public health measures to get the economy going. COVID-19 is going to be with us not just to the end of the year, but for several years. And we have to put the public health measures in place that will make sure our economy can grow.
And now we have AJ Jaw. AJ?
Going back to, what Lee was saying about COVID-19, I think commercial real estate, we're talking about office space, is going to take a huge hit. I think the hangars have immense potential. And what I see that is making Tustin a destination, not sleepy old afterthought Tustin. We need to leverage the hangar that we own and make that a facility where it's a convention center, an exhibition space, structure with hotels, and fully leverage the district as an entertainment portal for the city. And add other ideas. We have land, so we can bring in people like Topgolf, and we need to increase our sales tax base to help Tustin out. I mean, I like the idea of commercial real estate, but we can just look at the flight and notice that's sitting empty. COVID's going to really decimate the commercial real estate market.
And last but not least is George Valdez.
This is an easy question. It's the legacy. The 21st century city that I have in mind is where you live, you work, and you shop all on the same property. So you really don't have a traffic situation. Plus, we can leverage leverage the use of the trains that stops right at Edinger in order to alleviate any traffic concerns. So I really don't see a lot of traffic concerns down there. The other major project would obviously be the use of the South Hangar as an exhibition center. It needs to be something rentable that the city can generate revenues off of, but we're going to have to put some investment there. Right now it doesn't have water, it doesn't have sewage in order for that to happen. So my answer would be the legacy.
Perfect. Now we'll go on to question number 3, and the first candidate for question number 3 will be AJ Jaw. As soon as our moderator reads the question.
The third question was submitted by Dr. Nathan Yergin. What is the economical state of Tustin now, and where do you see need for improvement?
Well, the economic state of Tustin right now, I think it's, every city, every community is suffering from COVID-19. So everyone's tax revenue is going to be completely down. So unlike Tustin, we have a strong sales tax base. We have the auto center, we have the marketplace, we have the district. So it's been affected, but it really hasn't been as affected as bad as we think. And I think with the, currently, obviously things could be a lot worse, things could be a lot better. I think the next 4 years is going to be very important of setting the direction right post COVID-19 and moving from there. And so I think as the new council that comes in is going to be an interesting place to kind of put an impact, put a mark on Tustin.
Next will be George Valdez.
Our general budget is about $72 million. Our capital investment budget is another $44 million. We spend about $29 million on police and $9 million on fire. Those are just basic round numbers. So 54% of our budget is already the Tustin PD and fire. We are projected to have a $9 million revenue loss regarding due to COVID. So we really need to start thinking about this. Our reserve is already down. We cannot go below a 15 to 20% cash reserve for the year. So we really need councilmen who are going to really spur economic development in a decisive way very quickly.
Next will be Kurt Bensworth.
You're absolutely correct. We need to spur our economic development. Most of it will be out of the legacy. Where is our economic state right now? Correct. About $30 million is for the police department itself, which is about, like you said, between 50 and 54%. We need to continue to find new ways to make money, because right now with the COVID, the effects of COVID, what has happened is we've got a downgrade of sales tax. So sales tax revenue is way down. Now what we have to do, so where are we at? Honestly, we've got quite a bit in the reserves at the moment. However, though, they will not last forever. We just can't keep selling a piece of property at one at a time to cover our operating budget. We need to go forward. We need to go forward and continue on to find in better ways to handle the legacy, the hangars, etc.
Next candidate is Chris Cusack.
So I know I'm saying pretty much a lot of the same thing, but economically speaking, right now everybody's hurting. I think the best thing to do is we have to push forward. We need to create jobs, obviously, but the way that we're going to do that is we're going to have to help out those landlords that are holding those places that people are going to work at. So I think the biggest thing, we need to figure out how we get those spaces filled. Up there on 17th Street where the old Vons was. Down to Legacy. How do we build that out that people will actually want to go there? And what can we do to make sure that they'll be able to afford the rent once they get there? Because I think a lot of what's going on is that we're pricing ourselves out of the market almost, and we need to make sure that we kind of counterbalance that and make the little bit of a sacrifice to make sure that we keep jobs here in Tustin, keep people staying here when they go out and they shop, they play, etc.
Next will be Ryan Gallagher.
Thanks. The economic scenario going on in Tustin right now is structural. We have structural problems. It's not just COVID. If you look at the period between 2015 and 2019, our general fund revenue rose at a rate of 6.8%. That's below inflation. For that same period was 7.8%. That means we are not generating economic activity. That was one of the largest expansion in our country's history, and we were below inflation. So one of the first items I would bring to my fellow council members would to bring in a third party to evaluate our businesses practices, how we conduct ourselves with those that want to invest in our city and those that are currently here.
Next will be Council Member Letitia Clark.
Thank you. Since I've been on the council, we've experienced a balanced budget. We have maintained the 20% in reserve funding, and we did expect a $9 million loss in revenue, but because we work with our partners at the federal level, like our Congresswoman Katie Porter, we've received CARES Act funds. We expect less than half of that. So about a 4.7 million loss in revenue that's expected right now. So already that is a brighter outcome than we had originally projected. But crisis breeds creativity, and we have to work with partners like the Chamber, frankly, to attract more investors and attract more creative ideas to figure out how we're going to get ourselves out of this economic downturn. But it's going to be a collective effort. We've talked a lot about those issues related to healthcare, related to addressing the pandemic specifically.
Next will be Lee Fink.
Yeah, so I think that the economic situation in Tustin is difficult. We've got to also think about the working families in Tustin. There are too many people who are forgotten, especially who live in the neighborhood where my mother's house was, down by Curry Thorman. I guess it's Sycamore Academy now. And we're not thinking about folks in Southwest Tustin. So we've got to make sure we're putting our workers to work in Tustin. We do need that development. Councilmember Clark just mentioned that the expected deficit is down. In terms of the budget, we're also putting an extra $3.3 million a year to CalPERS that they're not asking for, and we're depriving our citizens of current revenues and current services. So we need to really think about if we're doing it right. What we really need is councilmen and councilwomen who understand the priorities of working families in Tustin and will help expand our economic opportunities.
And our last candidate is Becky Gomez.
Thank you. Well, I think that in past years, as Councilmember Clark mentioned, is that the city has been able to maintain their reserves and again, create some stability. We have been well over the 20% as per the city policy. We have some great opportunities in Tustin, and I think we're so used to we kind of overlook them, and that is the Costco gas stations, which obviously took a hit. People weren't commuting to work, so we weren't spending and getting that sales tax revenue. But on the flip side of that, people were buying a lot because they were staying home. So they did create a lot more retail at the Costco's and some of our other retailers. So that, I think, benefited us as well as a city. Now, yeah, we haven't seen all the fallout yet of COVID-19 and people staying home. And so I think we do need to be a little bit more creative.
Okay, we're going to go on to question number 4. Again, the moderator will read the question. Our first candidate for question number 4 will be Becky Gomez.
This question was submitted by Jocelyn Tan. She wants to know what you will do about the homeless problem in Tustin. She says that too many homeless are hanging around, causing damage, littering, and trespassing on her commercial properties in downtown Tustin. She said she's had to spend extra on repairs and additional security measures at a time when she can barely afford it.
Well, thank you for that question. I think one of the things that we need to do to address the homeless problem is to create some opportunities with the shelter. We need to create some wraparound services so that people can get the appropriate social services, whether it be mental health, job training, resume building. That's the only way we can get people back on their feet. But we have to have some compassion for those folks. If you think about, look at what's happened with the wildfires and all over the state. Those people are homeless now. And so we can't put a label on some of those people who have been in a situation through no fault of their own. But we do need to create some opportunities to get those folks back on their feet. And so the wraparound services is critical. Thank you.
Next will be Lee Fink.
Yes, I fully support what Becky Gomez just said about wraparound services, and that is so critical. I've worked as a volunteer at homeless shelters, at food banks to serve homeless, to help promote pro bono legal services for the homeless. It's really important to understand that their folks, a lot of them have mental health needs, have opioid addictions. So we've got to provide the services so that they have a way to address those. It will be less expensive for us as taxpayers to address those services on the front than the crime and the problems that come on the back end. And then with the folks that are resistant to that, when we have those services, we need to make sure that we're providing the right public safety efforts to clean up the streets so that we keep that down. We need to make sure that we're forcing the county to provide the proper level of social services that are required. And if we need to work with our neighboring cities in Irvine, Costa Mesa, and Orange to bring in social services so that we're not overburdening the police who are trying to fight crime instead of being social workers.
Next is Chris Cusack.
Thank you. I completely agree. I think that the biggest thing, I've talked to police officers about this, I've talked to different people regarding putting more social workers out there. I know that we have one right now that currently does a couple of shifts. We need to get more shifts in. It's something that, maybe the county will pay for it. Maybe we have to foot the bill for it. I know that sucks, but I think that making sure that everybody is taking care of, the homeless residents and the residents, of homes in Tustin. Both are secure. They're taken care of, making sure that everybody's safety is number one. So I think that we have that great homeless shelter down there to take people in. I think we just need to make sure that people that are here understand what services we offer, make sure that they know that they can get the help that they need.
Next will be Ryan Gallagher.
Thank you. So we do have a dedicated police officer that works with our homeless through an outreach effort and does partner with Orange County to bring in social services. We also have a third-party vendor, CityNet, that connects them with other services that are available to them. So I'm open to looking at expanding that, making sure that we're responding quickly to those calls. We don't want residents to have to deal with those inconveniences. I understand that. The facility, the temporary homeless facility, I will say that when that court order is up in, I think it's March, and we look to either relocate that or build a permanent one, I will not vote for a facility located next to a school or a park. I think that was a terrible decision. And if I'm elected, I'll make sure that never happens again.
Next is Councilmember Letitia Clark.
In 2016, when I ran, there were sentiments in the community that homelessness was not a problem. But we're seeing that this is a growing issue, not just in Tustin, but across the county. This is a regional issue. I truly believe we have to be more proactive than reactive in this situation. Around this issue, we have to be leaders around this issue. And frankly, we have done the work in creating emergency sheltering for homeless individuals in our community so that they have a bed, a shelter, a roof over their head, 3 meals a day. And so that opportunity is available to them. I've been endorsed by the Police Officers Association here in Tustin. We work with them in partnership to make sure that if there are homeless vandalizing or on private property, they work to ensure that those folks know about the services that we provide, and we partner with them along the way.
And next we'll hear from AJ Jaw.
Well, like Letitia was saying, this is a complex issue. It's regional, it's state. I think what's going on is a lot of laws have changed, and normally what they were going to jail for, it's no longer happening. So we have drug use rampant. I'm a commercial business owner. I experience it every day. It's a headache. It's a nightmare. I mean, I'm out cleaning people's poop, once a week. It's disgusting. My employees have to go through it. They damage and vandalize our restrooms. I'm not sure what police can really do about this problem. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's a multifaceted issue. I don't think we can keep pouring money into this problem because we're spending more and more money every day, every year, and the problem only gets worse. So this is not a problem that just Tustin has. It's a problem in our entire state. And I think we need to reevaluate this from the top down.
Next, we'll hear from Kirk Bensworth.
I agree. We need to reevaluate the whole situation and dealing with the homeless issues. Currently, the facilities are being underutilized as it is. So we may have homeless individuals that are out there at this present moment, but they may not want to go to these particular facilities that we already have spent millions and millions of dollars on with the city of Tustin. So we need to reevaluate the system. In addition, I'd like to do a collaboration with more private companies to see what we can do. We've done this with the veterans. We've collaborated with the Tierney Center, the Rescue Mission. We're able to get homeless people off the particular streets. This is what we're trying to do. All I can say is 2 things. Number 1, we definitely need to have collaboration. Number 2, we need to reevaluate the situation on what we're spending and how we're going to spend it, because the issue may not be just the homeless issue itself. Like AJ and many others have said before, could be drugs, opiates, just mental illnesses, etc. We need to.
Okay, and our last candidate for this question will be George Valdez.
It would be really easy to say, well, we should enforce our vagrancy laws, but Mr. Bensworth is correct. And the police, in my conversations with the police chief, a lot of people just don't want to go to the homeless shelter, and you can't simply just force them there. So I think the whole situation with respect to Tustin basically needs a task force. Other options need to be put on the table. We've spent millions on that homeless shelter. I want to reiterate to anyone in Columbus Square or Greenwood or Levity, I will not vote for another homeless shelter next to an elementary school, period. That is my pledge. I agree with Mr. Bensworth. This needs to be reevaluated.
Okay, folks, we'll go on to question number 5, and the first individual to answer question number 5 will be Chris Cusack.
All right, question number 5 was submitted by Bill Stroller. The question is, were you for or against the Costco gas station being built on El Camino Real, and why?
So I was against it. I don't like the idea of having all that traffic sitting right there on El Camino, blocking the marketplace, causing a distraction over there. I wasn't a big fan. I guess we're kind of going to see that happen. We'll see what comes out of it, but I think that it's just going to cause more problems in that little area, and that is me against it.
Okay. Our next candidate will be George Valdez.
When I first started my candidacy, it was one of my concerns. So I did call the individuals who started that lawsuit. I have listened and I have evaluated their concerns. A lot of them is with air quality, and but as I sit here and evaluate the whole situation, I am in favor of it. I will come down in favor of it. I believe Costco is a reputable company. If there's a traffic situation, they will fix it. If there is ever, God forbid, a leak in one of the gas tanks, they will fix it. We need city revenues, and so I'm going to come down and very likely in favor of it.
Next is Councilmember Letitia Clark.
Well, I'm actually on the record for voting for it. I actually read every report that was associated with this project. All of the impacts to air quality and traffic were not demonstrable in this case. And we did find that there were overwhelmingly great numbers of support for the project as well. And that's one of the jobs as a council member, to weigh the support, the opposition, to read the reports, to be well-versed and well-informed. I take my job seriously, and that's exactly what I did in this project. And I voted best way that I thought I should on that project. So I did vote in favor.
Next, we'll hear from Becky Gomez.
Thank you. I was not on the council when this issue came up, but I was there for some of the public comments. I do believe that the public was very concerned about the traffic, very concerned about the air quality, but it did not seem to materialize. And I do agree that Costco is a reputable organization, and that they would address anything that they have seen. If you look at the gas station in the Legacy, they're backed up into the street, and the council at that time voted to increase the roadway there, and again helped address that traffic situation. So as far as the revenue goes, I would, if I was on the council, knowing what I know, didn't read all the reports, I would have supported the gas station.
Next, we'll hear from Kirk Bensworth.
Thank you. Currently, right now, I'm against the particular idea of having a Costco gas station there, mostly because of the impact of traffic. And this is because I have a concern for the people that are in Tustin Ranch area there. They're going to be using those roads every single day. And if they're going to have any type of Costco traffic, it could impede their business whenever you have to go to work or not to work. So currently at the moment, I don't agree with it, and I would turn it down. I would not turn it, I'll turn it down.
Okay, next we'll hear from AJ Jaw. AJ Jaw.
Okay. Sorry, I was waiting for someone to unmute it, but that's fine. You know, I was on the planning commission for the Costco gas station. I recused myself because I'm in the same business. That being said, it's a great way of tax revenue for the city. But, you know, a lot of my fellow running mates are talking about abandoned corners and empty lots. You know, you're going to put that monster basically, essentially just, you know, you're going to have more abandoned gas stations. You know, you're going to look at El Camino Real and Red Hill Avenue. There's 2 gas stations that are barely surviving currently. You put a Costco in there, and now one of the main thoroughfares of people arriving in Tustin Ranch will look even worse. It doesn't look great. It's going to look a lot worse now. So, I mean, that's one of the things you have to consider. But, you know, you also have to consider the sales tax. It's going to be a good source of sales tax. So those are the things you have to balance.
Okay, and next we'll hear from Ryan Gallagher.
Thank you. So I was on the Planning Commission, and just like Letitia, read through all the background documents. The case was made about air quality. In truth, there's a gas station 600 feet from where this one is proposed to be. Not only that, but they're adjacent to the freeway, which obviously has its own air quality issues. Traffic was an emotional argument and clearly refuted by city staff and the professionals that did the traffic study. That was shown to be not an impact. Not only that it provided an ancillary benefit in that it actually pulled traffic away from the district, which is, if anyone's been to the district, understands the challenges there as it goes to traffic. Not only that, but 40% of the people going to the gas station live in Tustin. So this is a benefit to the residents of Tustin. So I supported it.
20 seconds.
Okay, and then we'll hear from Lee Fink.
There we go. Yeah, I'm against this, and actually it's one of the rare times that I differ with my good friends Letitia and Becky. But here's where I think the problem is. I haven't, just last week I filled up my gas tank for the first time since February. And that's not just because of the pandemic, it's because I drive a Volt. And I've met a couple of folks here who drive Teslas. They don't use gas at all. And we're not going to use as much gas in the future, and we are going to see more gas stations close at other places in town. And so what we're doing, unfortunately, is building a future toxic waste cleanup site. So look, I think it's been adopted, it's moved forward. I don't think that we're going to change that now, but and I think I was talking to Bill Stroller on the phone earlier, or text earlier, because he asked me this question. But I think that's the philosophy. We've got to, as we go forward, we've got to realize that the way we're fueling our future isn't going to be with gasoline. It's going to be with alternative fuels, and we should plan for that.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go on to our final question, which is question number 6. And a little program note. After we're through with all the candidates answering a question, each candidate will receive a 1-minute closing time for closing statement. And again, that order has already been predetermined. The first candidate for this final question is Becky Gomez. Moderator?
Last question was submitted by Kimberly Adams. The question is, do you have a plan to create affordable housing in Tustin for residents who are suffering from the high costs of housing?
Well, I think housing in general in Orange County is a challenge. Our family owns several properties, and we look at that very closely every time it is available for rent. Honestly, we are under market rate because we do want to keep families in Tustin. But we do need to look at, I like to see affordable housing interspersed with market rate housing. I don't like to see it separate because that provides a connotation for some. But I would like to see us, again, look at some wraparound services, look at affordable housing. The affordable housing inventory, I think, has been depleted a little bit by people, again, getting back on their feet. They get out of that affordable housing income level, and they either buy the property or we have to repurpose it. So I think that's one of the big things that we need to look at, is how we can build.
Next, we'll hear from Council Member Letitia Clark.
A family needs to have an annual income of $80,000, at least $80,000 to be considered low income here in Orange County. In Tustin, our median income per household is around $74,000. So we have many families in the low income category. And so we have to focus on affordable housing. It's one of my platforms to create an extremely diverse portfolio of housing in Tustin. I don't only want to see, rental and for purchase, but affordable, permanent supportive, transitional, and emergency housing so that anyone at any point in their life can find shelter and housing here in Tustin. And if we're talking about bringing our economy back, we want people to live here so they can shop here and work here, et cetera. So I believe we have to have extremely diverse housing in Tustin.
Next, we'll hear from Kirk Bensworth.
This is a very difficult issue because you have different sectors in which Tustin is filled with a lot of different sectors of high economics and then low economics. And we do want to have affordable housing because, let's face it, I don't want the children to move out of Tustin. That's what has made Tustin so great, is that people want to come back to Tustin if they've gone off to college. So we have to do something to, I would agree, that we need to have some kind of
developers to create housing and expect housing to actually be constructed. So we can sit here and say, well, we want this and we want that, but that really doesn't matter unless a developer is willing to put that housing and move the ground to make it happen. We need to be more business friendly. We already have state laws in place with respect to affordable housing. We need to comply with those laws, but we need to stop trying to push an agenda and start pushing the agenda of let's get some housing built. You build more housing, the costs will go down. We already have a 15% component mandated by the state. We need to comply with that, and that's essentially what I would do.
Next, we'll hear from Ryan Gallagher.
George is 100% right. Regardless of what anyone on the council wants us to do, the state is mandating that through RHNA, Regional Housing Needs Assessment, we need to build 6,600 homes in Tustin. Many of those are affordable housing. And so we really need to get out of our own way. We've created a lot of policies. I mentioned inclusionary housing ordinance that's really halted any development in the city. And so developers want to come in and build affordable housing because they get bonuses through the state, but we're not building anything, so we're not getting any affordable housing. So let's clear the obstacles out of the way.
Next, we'll hear from Lee Fink.
So I grew up here in Tustin, couldn't afford, even after going to some of the best colleges and universities, couldn't afford to buy a house here in Tustin after I graduated from law school. The only way I could live in Tustin at first was when I was staying at home with my mother for the first year after law school. So we need to have better opportunities for housing. We need to have affordable housing. It needs to be, as Becky said, part of, mixed in with all of our housing. It needs to be part of an entire housing plan. One of the ideal opportunities for more housing and workforce housing is right there across from the Tustin Metrolink station. That is a place where transit-oriented housing could thrive, where you could have neighborhoods and communities. And so that's place number one. The other places is where we is mixing that in amongst other development. And I've heard a lot of criticisms of city staff, but we need leadership from the city council.
Next, we'll hear from AJ Jaw.
I think to go on with Lee and what George and Ryan are saying is we have a regional RHNA number of 65 units that we need to build. That's what's being mandated by this. And, you know, we have Assembly Bill 1486, which is going to make us kind of change the way we view these land disposals or where we're selling the land. And so I think Tustin earlier on has done a decent job mixing in moderate and low income housing and new developments, including Amalfi, including the Tustin Fields developments. But obviously we can do more. And I like Becky's idea of mixing in these type of properties within development so people are not, we know that's a low income project. And so these are all great ideas. And I think we need to take the red tape and the regulation out and move forward and do some proper development like this.
And our last candidate will be Chris Cusack.
Thank you. So yeah, I definitely I run along the lines of what candidate Valdez, candidate Gallagher, and candidate Jal said. The we definitely need to get out of our own way. Easy. I think that the market will dictate what we're able to do. I think when we start putting in all these barriers, it starts to create more and more issues, and we could definitely just stop adding these things. But that's pretty much, I guess, my answer for that. It's short and simple.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, candidates. Now we'll go on. Each candidate will receive 1 minute airtime for closing remarks. And the order has already been predetermined. And Chris Cusack, you're number one.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for hosting. Melody, thank you for moderating. Elsa, thank you for being behind the scenes. Thank you to the other candidates. I definitely enjoyed hearing your thoughts tonight. And I'm very happy to be here. I hope to see everybody come out November 3rd. If you haven't registered to vote, please go out, register to vote. Your vote matters. If you don't think it matters for a bigger election, something like this small, your vote could decide who sits on your city council. So I would encourage everybody to get out there and exercise the right to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from AJ Jaw.
I'd like to thank Melody for moderating the debate. I'd like to thank the chamber for the opportunity for everybody in Tustin to meet who's running. I think it's interesting, as with COVID-19, there's not really many ways for people to meet and talk with others and have a way to express your ideas. And I want to let the community know that I'm approachable. If you want to talk to me about anything, I am more than willing to hear your concerns. I want to be transparent. I want to be approachable. And that's the sort of type of leadership role that I want to take with joining the city council of Tustin, is that I know everyone's not going to like a project. Everyone's not going to be a fan of this, but we all have to kind of live together in a community. So I hope to be your vote. I'm going to be last on ballot. I'm first for Tustin. My name is AJ Jha, and I would love for you to vote for me. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from Lee Fink.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be with everybody tonight, even if it's through the computers than in person. This evening on economic challenges is important, and I want to come back to where I started, which is we won't solve our economic problems until we solve our public health problems. COVID-19 will be with us not just in 20 and 21, but 22 and going forward. So we need to take the public health steps that are necessary to get our economy going. And when we do that, we also need to find ways to bring in those business opportunities that will create the revenue for our city to help provide services, especially to those places that have been forgotten and overlooked too much. I'm proud to have the support of the Tustin's firefighters, proud to have the support of the Tustin's grocery workers who've been with us through this tough time. I think we need a business and community ombudsperson that will help us cut through these problems. But I think that we need experience in the city council, leadership you can trust in that has dealt with Fortune 500 companies and has dealt with small businesses. And that's.
Next, we'll hear from George Valdez.
To my Tustin citizens, I am a businessman, attorney, a father of 4, and a Tustin homeowner. I will maintain public safety in Tustin. On that, you have my word. I will create the Tustin Cares initiative, which involves college scholarships and reutilizing staff members to work with our underserved areas to find jobs again. I will be a business-friendly candidate. I will stir development in the city. I will not create more government barriers. I will not create more government regulations. I will not increase your taxes. And I won't vote for a homeless shelter again.
20 seconds.
Elementary school.
Now we'll hear from Kirk Bensworth.
Thank you, Lindbergh. Thank you, Melody. Appreciate the opportunity here to speak with the residents of Tustin. I'm running for Tustin City Council on a platform of fiscal responsibility, using my extensive financial background to increase revenue without placing the burden on the taxpayers. Attracting new businesses are very important to me, but most importantly is we need to create a better and more business-friendly atmosphere within the city itself. That way we can attract more businesses coming in. The most important thing is, yes, let's get our city right, financially sound, and then we will be able to support our citizens. I want to thank everybody, and most important, I want everybody to know that I've been here, I'm a true Tustinite, and I love the city of Tustin. And our motto for us, it's not about politics, it's about you, the citizens.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Councilmember Letitia Clark.
Thank you, Lindbergh and Elsa and Melody, for this forum again. Really appreciate it. And for everyone viewing and tuning in, thank you for being engaged and willing to hear the candidates. This is not a drill. This is serious business. We're talking about a lot of serious issues, and all the issues that we talked about tonight are closest to you as citizens. These are things that touch you on a regular basis. So your vote does matter. Your vote does count. Take your vote seriously. I've done this job and taking it seriously with all the severity of this job. This is a full-time job, and it takes a lot of work. We don't get paid on the Tustin City Council right now. And so I understand the severity of this job. I understand the seriousness of this job. I have done this job well, and I'm willing to do it again and ready to do it again with your vote. And I thank you for your support.
And now we'll hear from Becky Gomez.
Thank you to the Chamber for hosting us. I care about you, our community. My years of leadership professionally as a volunteer, a council member, as a county school board member, gives me a unique perspective on how to work with others and how to get things accomplished. More than ever, we need a voice of reason, experience, and women who bring a distinctive voice to the conversation. It's not lost on many who see the countries who have reduced the spread of this virus are led by women. When we developed our parks, I made sure that there were changing tables in the men's restroom as well as the women's. When we built a new shopping center, I wanted to be sure we had a grocery store with fresh foods and options for working parents. I made sure that when we had a medical building going up, that there had to be an urgent care center. Being a mother of three who's had my share of medical emergencies, this was important.
20 seconds.
Our city has unique challenges. So your confidence in my candidacy would be greatly appreciated. I look forward to working with you. Please vote on November 3rd. And now more than ever, leadership matters. Thank you.
And we'll hear from Ryan Gallagher, whom I accidentally skipped. Ryan?
That's okay. Thank you. So I think we made it pretty clear tonight that looking back at our general fund, the City Council has not met their obligation of creating a long-term strategy to our financial stability. And we cannot vote in the same practices and the same people that have led us there. There's a tacit understanding from those out there tonight that our council people have the skills and expertise to deliver on their promises. And I promise you, if I'm elected, I will deliver on those. I'm one of the only candidates here that's worked their entire career in public works, and I can bring that experience to you and help the city get out of these financial qualms. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope the information the candidate has shared will help you determine the best candidate for the job. Please, if you would like to submit questions for a future candidate forum, we do have one scheduled for Monday, October 19th. Also, if you have not registered to vote, I encourage you to register to vote. The deadline for voter registration is Monday, October 19th. If you'd like to submit questions for future City Council debate, you can go on the Tustin Chamber of Commerce website. It's tustinchamber.org. Or you can always stop at our beautiful office in the Enderby Center Shopping Center here in Tustin. Thank you all, and we'll see you on the 19th of October. Good night.